Welcome to Subramani. If you go to the bookshop, you will find that there are many books on sales or how to sell, how to be the world's greatest salesman, kind of a thing. Zillions of books on golf and zillions of books on investment, because these are not sciences. This is a sense of science. You can definitely put a framework with which to work, and you can practice on that, and then you have to execute it. You have to do it as an art. You have to enjoy doing it, and only then you perfect it. And even then you don't perfect it over very long periods of time. And then you pick up certain axioms and idioms and phrases and by great people, and you think that works. So when a Warren Buffett says, when I buy a share, I don't ever sell it, it is not true. He sells his portfolio. Large parts of his portfolio he sells. If you take some of his successes which came in early, they were very good, which helped him hold on to a portfolio for a very long period of time. Some of his later investments have been bad, and he has lost money and he has exited. He has sold shares at a time when maybe he shouldn't have sold. He has made all those mistakes. But what happens is, when your core portfolio is doing very well and you have a nice process and you have a Charlie Munger with you who tells you what to do and what not to do, or his conscience keeper tells him that this is the way to do, this is how to hold, and things like that, then it becomes a fantastic process in place. I'm not so much enamored by his success as the process which he has put in place. I can tell you one thing, that processes have worked for me, but I have not had one single process would have worked for my complete portfolio. Let me just explain. So I have a portfolio which is partly inherited from my dad, which means it was my dad's money which got invested in, say, 1977. Then my money started sometime only in 1985-86. So I have shares which I bought in 1986, which I am still holding. And I bought shares which I bought more recently, an Indigo which was bought far more recently, or a Happiest Minds which I bought even more recently, just post IPO on the listing. So obviously for different shares, different strategies have worked. And so just let me explain. I bought shares of, say, Coromandel International, bought in 1986. Let us say I have 50,000 shares of Coromandel International. Will I ever sell it? The answer is yes, may sell, may not sell, maybe, may not be. But I will keep trading in it. I will sell off some shares, I'll buy it back, I'll sell, buy, I'll buy, sell. I will keep doing some trading, maybe on 2,000 shares, on 3,000 shares. I will keep doing that. So there will be a core portfolio which works, and there will be a core portfolio. There will be a portfolio, trading portfolio, in which I trade. This works for me because in the trading I make more money than the dividend that I get on the core shares. So such a strategy will work for me. Can I say buy and hold has worked for me? Yes, buy and hold has worked, but I've also sold a lot. I think 2007, 2008 I sold, then 2009 I bought. I have done a lot of transactions in that share. Unfortunately I'm not very good at record keeping, but if I did it, I can tell you that I've always traded in it at a profit, and every year mostly I would earn more money than I would get as dividend. So here is the share, bought at a particular price in 1986, held from 1986 to 2022 and maybe forever, where I've earned a dividend, which is the reward for being a patient investor, and I have traded and made money. So all this combination has worked. So would I believe when Buffett says don't ever sell? To me, no, it doesn't make sense. Also, I buy shares on the way up, I sell shares on the way down. I sell shares on the way up, I sell shares on the way down. I do every possible thing. Kajaria Ceramics, I think my first entry price must have been 30 rupees or 40 rupees, I don't remember. I have some original Kajaria shares, I bought it some 30-40 rupees, I kept buying, I sold, I bought, I sold, I've done all kinds of things. 2020, I again was a buyer in Kajaria Ceramics. So I still hold Kajaria Ceramics. So there is no one single strategy which works in the market for all your portfolio. You need to have different strategies for different shares. So I have made more money from one NBFC than I have made from HDFC Bank. Yes, I am making this statement very carefully. Over the last 10 years, I have made more money from perhaps 2 NBFCs, then I made from HDFC Bank. But in HDFC Bank, largely I've been a buy and never sell kind of a portfolio. If I have traded, I would have traded in 100 or 200 shares, but the core portfolio is untouched. Now let me give you the example of HDFC Limited. I initially bought it in 1978, and I kept selling some and buying back, selling, and all kinds of things, because it takes a long time to know something about the promoter, right? Here was a promoter who came with zero. I had no clue who was Mr. Deepak Parekh. I had not heard of him, and that time it was being run perhaps by Mr. H.T. Parekh. He was like any other promoter. At what stage of the company's life do you decide that this is a good quality company which you can hold on for life? For me, that conviction was, if it's an MNC, it will be a very good company, they will not cheat and blah, blah, blah. So holding on for a long period of time helps. Yes, I used to deal with MNCs for their taxation matters long ago. I'm talking 1986, 87, 88. And I realized that yes, these people are clean and ethical on some of these things, and they are going to reward the shareholder very well, because the big shareholder sitting in US wants to take as much, suck out as much money, right? So that was to me a great signal that these shares buy and hold will work, till I found that they come and start charging for their brand, and they are taking away 2% or 3% of the sales. They're skimming away at the top. So today, buy and hold may not work in an MNC. You may have to take decisions about whether to hold or whether to sell. But I have not been selling my Colgates of the world and Cummins and Siemens. So I have not sold. So what will work, I don't know. But yeah, in case of again Cummins and Siemens, I have always, in case of Cummins definitely, I have sold at a high price, let's say 900, and bought it back at 650 or 700. So I have traded in Cummins, but I have not traded in Siemens. Never had the guts to trade in Siemens, because it gives very violent one-way movement. So yeah, so all these things. So don't expect to hear a holy grail of investing. This is how you should invest. There is no such answer. You have to sit there and change your mind, right? Like Keynes said, when facts change, you change your mind. When CCI was doing the pricing, applying in an IPO was definite way of making money. With SEBI saying you can do the pricing yourself, and a bunch of greedy promoters and their venture capitalist friends are doing the pricing, chances are very little money will be left for you on the table. So IPO may not be the best way to make money. It used to be when CCI was doing the pricing. So right, so these kind of conflicts will happen. At some stage you will decide that this is a good promoter, it's worth holding. But when the promoters changes hands, in the sense that when the father goes and the son comes in, you have to take a decision. I had to take this decision in case of, say, Hero Honda. Parting with Honda, I was not sure whether the Hero group would be just as honest as it was earlier with the Hero Honda JV. So I sold partially, then I exited completely after some time when after Honda exited. I don't know whether it is a good decision or a bad decision, but I took that decision, right? So it takes time to know whether the promoter is a good promoter, how long should you hold. I'm happy with the promoter quality in, say, Indigo. I am going to hold on. Right, I am reasonably happy with the promoter quality in, say, Fortis, even in Apollo Hospital, even though I used to be very skeptical. But I have benefited a lot in these two companies in the last 1 year because of the pandemic, and maybe it's a time when I'll book some profits. Maybe it's not a time when I'll book some profits, or I will book profits and as the price falls down by, say, 10% or 12%, I'll buy it back. I don't know what strategy will work for me going forward. So it's typically my portfolio is a go anywhere strategy. I can move to full cash. I can take the dividend. Sometimes I don't feel like taking the dividend, because anyway you're going to pay tax on it. I'd rather pay capital gains of 10% instead of paying 35% income tax on dividends, right? So it's a tough call to make. It's difficult call to make, and it is very easy when you're handling your own money and you're not answerable. Yes, you feel bad that you took decisions which were not correct, but you also feel that overall, if you are making enough money to meet your requirements, then you've been there, done that, achieved it kind of stuff. You will still play the game. You don't stop playing the game because you have reached the destination. It's not like you say, oh, the plane has already landed in New York, so I have to get down. Yes, you have to get down. That's not true in investing. You will say, nahi, aur thodi der. very difficult calls to take as to what strategy will work for which share at what point in time. So at some point in time, I would think, oh, this industry is overpriced, this sector is overpriced, so let me get out of that sector, right? So these kind of, to think that somebody can make one strategy and say, I buy and I will never sell, or doesn't work, because you have to change your mind when the facts change. Companies can vanish, right? So if you have been there in this market for 40 years, you remember that there were companies like the United Group, there was Orchid, there is Anil Ambani Group, which have dramatically destroyed wealth for people. And there are companies which are dull and boring, like say Supreme and Coromandel and HDFC Bank, which are dull, boring, nothing exciting, but they made money for the shareholder, right? So don't think that HDFC is not an aggressive company. It's an extremely aggressive company. Look at the returns which the shareholder have got. Don't go by the image of what people tell you. That's not important. What is important is cash flow. Have they created wealth for you in the long run? The answer is yes. Then their strategy is right. Thank you.